La realidad es que mi inglés, creo yo, es mejor que mi español a veces. So today we're going to have the presentation in English. If I am talking too fast, you can let me know and I will try to slow down. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about English in the IT world and how it can help you access our global opportunities. And we're going to be talking about a few things today. First, we're going to talk about English in the IT industry. We're going to talk a little bit about English testing and its role in recruitment and the recruitment process, how you can improve your English proficiency, what tools are available to you, and finally, unlocking global opportunities and what it means to speak English in IT. So let's get started then. So first, English and the IT industry and how you can become part of the global picture. So of course, globalization is a phenomenon that affects everything, every industry, and IT is no exception. We have, of course, remote work and distributed teams. What are distributed teams? Teams that are located in more than one country or city. And with the advancement of digital communication technologies, and of course, we saw COVID-19 having an impact on the use of these digital communication technologies and people working remotely. That means that now employers are looking to expand where they hire people. They want to have teams that work around the clock because now they can cover all 24 hours of the day with teams in different countries across different time zones. And they can also access more specialized skill sets and a bigger talent pool. So this is where nearshoring comes in. I don't know if you have heard this term before, any of you, if you know what it is. So nearshoring, yeah, it's a type of outsourcing or staff augmentation. And it is when a country or a company hires people that are in nearby countries. So, for example, American companies hiring people in Latin America. Why do they do this? There is geographic proximity, which means that there is time zone compatibility. There is cost saving involved for companies hiring in nearby countries. And also, there is a cultural affinity, right? We have things in common with people in the United States. We share, you know, media, we share popular culture, we have similar ways of working. So that means that companies are looking for talent in Latin America. And then there is global talent mobility. You have probably heard that there is a shortage of IT workers around the world. There are more IT jobs than there are people who can do them. And this means that a lot of countries are looking to hire people from outside. So you can start working in another country, and often countries offer special visas for people who have particular skills or who are what they call skilled workers. And this way you can work abroad more easily. So it is no longer that you can work for the United States in your own country, but there is also the possibility to migrate and work abroad. So, what is the power of English proficiency? So, first we have global collaboration and using English as a lingua franca. I don't know if you have ever heard this term, a lingua franca. A lingua franca is a common language between people who come from different places. So, in the past 30 years, this tacit agreement between countries has happened where when people meet from different parts of the world, they speak English. If you have in a room a person from China, a person from Brazil, a person from Uruguay, and a person from, let's say, Egypt, they will probably be speaking English. Yeah, so English has become the international language or the universal language, and this is no exception in IT. So this means that when you want to collaborate with people across the world, you need to speak English. Then we have access to resources and knowledge. So the vast majority of resources and knowledge in IT is in English. This is, for example, online courses through platforms like Coursera or Pluralsight or Udemy. If you have ever looked to those platforms for courses, the majority, 90% of these courses are in English. Manuals, documentation, everything is in English. So you need to speak English in order to learn more and grow professionally. There is also in IT a very active community when it comes to online forums. So I know that a lot of people who work in IT, I'm not a developer, but I know that a lot of times when you run into a problem, especially before ChatGPT came to rescue us all, it was very common to access forums, ask questions on forums of other people who work in the industry, and through those interactions, you could learn more and also solve any problems that you could have. So it's important to learn English for that. It will also boost your employability. It will make you a more attractive candidate for people hiring. I was just talking to Ismael before we started, and you mentioned 63% of IT jobs in Uruguay have English as a requirement, right? Yeah. So if you know English, then you will be more employable. You will be more attractive and better suited for 63% of the jobs. It will open new career opportunities by opening new markets. And finally, it will give you a higher earning potential. And this is something that everyone kind of agrees with. And there have actually been several studies that show this. So one study in particular done by the University of Cambridge showed that people who have a higher English proficiency, so who are more advanced speakers of English, earn 30% more than people who have a lower proficiency. So this means their salary is 30% higher than people with a lower English level. There was also a global report by Pearson. Pearson Education is a company that offers courses, materials. They are behind the Mondly Learning app, if you ever heard about it. So they did a study last year where they asked 5,000 English speakers in Japan, Saudi Arabia, Brazil, and Italy what they thought the impact of English was in their professional lives. And basically, more than half the people who answered said that their English level has an impact on their earnings. So 15% of people said that if your English is more advanced, you can earn up to 50% more. And this was a bit different between different generations. So I don't know if you have heard of boomers, millennials, Gen X, Gen Z. So Gen Z, who are the youngest generation, people born after 2000, they believe 39% of them believe that the better your English, the better your salary. And when you look at how this changes depending on your proficiency level, so people who have an advanced level of English, 42% have a high income, whereas people who have an elementary level of English, only 11 of them have a high income. So improving your English can have a very big impact on how much money you can make. So English and recruitment, how to stand out from the crowd and
Lucía,
how, yeah.
excuse me. I think Raul had a question.
Oh, I didn't see any a hand. Sorry, Raul.
I was thinking
I saw the hand.
I was thinking if you could share the source of this information.
Yeah, I can share. I can share in the chat the link to this study. There is a file where they have a PDF report where they share all this information and they talk about the results of their survey. So yes, I will share it after the presentation. Oh, the other thing that I forgot to mention is they also asked people about job satisfaction, Pearson, and so people who had an advanced English level, 75% of them were happy with their job. And people who had a low English level, only 40%, 47% of them were happy with their job. So also there is a kind of a correlation between your level of English and how happy you are in the job that you have. So English.
Sorry,
yes.
Lu. Sorry, Lu. Is that survey for a specific country or continent or something like that, or
They
it's
asked,
global?
it's kind of a global survey. They asked people in Japan, in Saudi Arabia, in Brazil, and Italy. So they asked people across 4 continents. And then in the report, they mention they also have differences between the countries. So some of the information is shown depending on the country, but yeah, it intends to be a global report.
Got it. Thank you.
So how to stand out from the crowd? Do you know what the Common European Framework is? Have you guys heard of it? So maybe if you haven't heard of the Common European Framework, you have seen these letters and numbers, A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. The Common European Framework is a standard to describe your language proficiency. You can use it for English or for any second language that you speak. And it is basically a standard where if I say someone is a B2, someone can go and read the description of a B2 and they will know how well they speak English. This standard is set by the European Union, who love a standard. If you know anything about the European Union, you know that they are big fans of standards. So they have gone ahead and standardized levels of language proficiency. It is widely recognized. So across the world, it means the same thing. So this means it has kind of become the way that language proficiency is described. So employers will ask for a certain level of English. They will say, we need a candidate, or we are looking for a person who has a B2 level of English. And why is this standard good? Because everyone agrees on what a B2 means. Where if I say I have intermediate English, maybe my opinion of intermediate is different from another person's opinion. But with this standard, there are no opinions. It's just, it is what it is. So there are 6 levels in total. A1 and A2 are the basic users of the language. B1 and B2 are what we call independent users of the language, which means you can have conversations independently, you can talk about different topics. And C1 and C2 is a proficient user. So a C2 would be native or near native. You have the same understanding and the same ability to communicate as a native speaker of the language. So why is it important? Because it allows you to describe your English level in a way that is useful for your employer or your prospective employer. And there are useful ways to know what your language is. And something a bit new that has come along with AI and computer tests is adaptive testing. Do any of you know what adaptive testing is? So an
Nope.
adaptive test is a test that you take on a computer, and while you're taking the test or the app, they will analyze your responses and they will see how good they are. So the better answers you give, the more correct answers you give, the harder questions you will get. So the test learns as you are taking them and it adapts the questions to the level that you're displaying in real time. And there are two very useful adaptive tests that will tell you your English level based on the Common European Framework. And there are two. One is Education First SET. Education First is an American company, and they, I don't know, maybe you know them if you like cycling. They have a cycling team, and basically they are one of the biggest corporations in the world of English testing and English teaching. And then you have the British Council, which is a UK-based organization. So these two tests, Education First SET and English Score, they allow you to test yourself, and they will give you your your level in the Common European Framework. Just in, let's say, in real time, as soon as you finish the test, it will tell you what your level is. And a very handy thing is that you can link your test results to your LinkedIn profile. So if you look here, it says LinkedIn. You can do the same with the Education First test. So this means when an employer is looking at your LinkedIn profile, they will be able to immediately see what your English level is. The English Score tests takes 30 minutes. The Education First test has 3 versions. A 15-minute test, which just gives you an estimation of your level. A 30-minute test that only tells you your reading and listening level. And the 90-minute test, which tells you your overall proficiency. So your level in speaking, listening, reading, and writing. So all 4 skills. And finally, we have soft skills assessment. I'm sure you have heard about soft skills. They are very important. They're very important in every industry. And often employers, they don't only want to know what your level of English is, but they want to know other things. So they will implement a speaking test where they want to know your level of English, yes, but they also want to know what your cultural awareness and intercultural communication skills are, your adaptability and collaborative skills. So this will be like a job interview, a short conversation in English, where employers are not only looking at your English level, but also if you can actually work with a team in English and what your communication skills are. Any questions so far? No?
No, teach.
No.
Okay, perfect. So how can you improve your English proficiency and boost your learning? There are different ways. There is asynchronous learning. If you have ever heard of this term, asynchronous learning is the type of learning that you do on platforms like Coursera, edX, FutureLearn, and Udemy, where you have access to the course and the materials on your own time and at your own pace, and you don't have interactions with the instructor or with the rest of the people taking the course in real time. Yeah, maybe you will have interactions with the instructor through assignments, through homework, but you're not in a lesson at the same time with other people. The advantage of this type of learning is that you can do it at your own pace and when it's convenient for you. So you don't have to coordinate a schedule. You don't have to worry about those things. It is very flexible. There are language apps which can help a lot, especially if you're a beginner or you're starting to learn the language. Some examples are Mondly, Babbel, and Duolingo. I'm sure you have heard of them. Another important thing is to practice your listening. And a lot of people tell me, oh, I watch so much TV in English. But sometimes to practice your listening, it's better to just listen and not have an image because we get a lot of information from what we see. So when we do some listening, like with a podcast, we are really practicing our listening comprehension. And there are podcasts that are specifically targeted for language learners, for people who are learning English. These are some elementary level podcasts. You have Learn English and Voice of America Learning English. If your level is intermediate, there is 6-minute English and podcasts in English. I can provide links to this after. And if you're more advanced, there's a podcast called The English We Speak, where they analyze the language and they talk about idioms and things like that. And also, find something that is meaningful to you. If you are really interested or you really love true crime stories, right? You're obsessed with true crime documentaries. Listen to true crime podcasts. If you like tech, there are a ton of tech podcasts out there on Spotify. So always the more meaningful something is for you, the more it will stick in your mind. If it's interesting for you, that will kind of create more connection. So it's always good if you can read or listen to as much as possible. And then finally, if you want to practice your speaking, there are language exchanges. Language exchanges are websites that facilitate the connection between people who want to learn different languages. So for example, on platforms like Tandem or HelloTalk, you can connect with people who want to learn Spanish and you want to learn English. So you meet online and you chat in the language that you want to learn, and then you switch and you chat in the language that the person wants to learn.
Lucia.
Yeah.
Lucia, just a comment. Daini just sharing in the chat that there are good podcasts in English called Listening Time.
Oh, okay.
And I want to ask you if you recommend or you know where in which platforms or application like Spotify, if there are any kind of podcast in English there.
Sorry. On Spotify, I know you can find like literally thousands of podcasts in English.
Okay.
There are more podcasts in English than in Spanish. You can sort by genre or by topic. You know, you can say you want to find tech, like technology related podcasts, and you will get a really long list. My Spotify is in English, so I only ever see content in English. Maybe if you're in Latin America and you see mostly content in Spanish, but if you search, is there.
Thank you.
So I want to know how you prefer to learn. So we're going to do a little interactive thing. And I want you to use the button on the top of the screen and raise your hand if you like the convenience of asynchronous learning. So how many of you like asynchronous learning and online courses? You can see 1, 2. So I can see at least 4 of you like asynchronous learning. How many of you learn better by listening? Like when you listen, things stay more in your mind. Yeah, me too. I'm definitely a person who learns by listening. How many of you learn by reading? So to learn something, you need to read something. And how many of you learn by doing? So for something to stick in your mind, you need to do it yourself. If you don't do it yourself, it doesn't work.
Yes.
Yeah. If you're someone who learns by doing, apps are very useful because they're very interactive, and so are language exchanges. So you can all lower your hands now, and we'll move on to the last part of our presentation and unlocking global opportunities. So how will English help my career development? Like we talked before, you can access knowledge and resources that will be unavailable if you don't use English. You can access global job opportunities. You can participate in global events and conferences. There are so many online conferences and seminars that you can attend. And also, of course, there are events that you can go to in person. So speaking English can really help you connect with other people. And there's also always the opportunity of career advancement and promotion. And here at Applica, we have our own kind of, I don't know, success cases or people who have unlocked new opportunities by learning English. And we have, I don't know, the cases of, for example, William, who works for us. He started working with us in 2022, and he worked with an internal on an internal project, and now he works with a US-based client. So in the past 2 years, he has managed to unlock this new opportunity. And we also have Julio, who works with us, and he's now working with clients in the United States. So here at Applica, it's very important for us to help you with your career development. We have, of course, English lessons available for anyone that wants to access them. You can always get in touch with me to chat. And yeah, so give it a good thought and definitely learn English.
Thank you,
And
teacher.
thank you. Do
Teacher,
you
just a
have, yeah?
comment.
Mhm.
I could see a great improvement attending the lessons like right now we are doing. I think it was useful for me having this class this type of lesson when I tell you how I'm managing the week or what we are doing from Devlog or from Applica. I could see a great improvement, and I'm chatting with you, updating things, or I'm explaining you my week or what I'm or what I would like
Mhm.
to do,
Mhm.
and it's so, how I can say,
Mhm.
it's so useful for me because I have the wording updated for
Mhm.
having a chat with a client or with a, I'm prospecting the whole day, and
Mhm.
I need to be effective and efficient
Mhm.
with my speech and messages or meetings. And
Mhm.
right now we are presenting for candidate for a company in Nashville, so we have to manage the imagine we have to manage all the question in English. So for
Mhm.
me, it's interesting. Maybe it's useful for other people here
Mhm.
when attending the lesson. Intro, add at least add the some activities you are going to have in your week.
Mhm. Yes. Thank you, Julio, for your feedback, and I am glad that you have found our time together useful and helpful for you professionally. Are there any questions or anything you would like to know, or before we say goodbye? So if there are no questions, then that is all for today. Thank you very much for joining. It was a pleasure talking to you all and seeing you. If you want, you can, of course, reach out to me. You can find me. Oh, I will write my email because my last name is a bit complicated, but lucia.kmaid@applicacorp.com. And yeah, that is all. I will be sharing the report that Raul asked me about in the chat, and anything else that you want, you can just go ahead and write there. So thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you, Lucia.
Thank you.
Thank you.